History is written by the victors.
We are all well acquainted with the notion that every story has two sides, aren't we? In a world where history is often told from a singular perspective, it begs the question, why are we more familiar with certain narratives over others? Why is it that the biblical account of Exodus, written centuries later by the Jews, has overshadowed the Tempest Stele, written by Ahmose, who witnessed it all firsthand? Have you ever contemplated the presence of evidence offering insights into the Egyptian viewpoint of these occurrences? And have you paused to consider the intriguing omissions of specific details within the Bible? Why is there a conspicuous absence of the Pharaoh's name and precise locations of Moses' confrontations with him? Now, let's embrace multi-perspectivity to gain insight into the flip side of the coin. In the book of Exodus, we read that Moses and Aaron ask Pharaoh to set the children of Israel free. Pharaoh refuses, and the Lord sends plagues upon Egypt to pressure the Egyptian ruler. The children of Israel eventually leave Egypt. However, Pharaoh reverses his consent and decides to pursue them with his army. The Lord splits the Red Sea for the Israelites, allowing them to cross safely, while the waters engulf Pharaoh and his army, leading to their demise by drowning. Intriguingly, there exists a wealth of evidence suggesting a different perspective on the Exodus narrative, that the Pharaoh involved may have been of Jewish descent, and rather than the Jews leaving voluntarily, they were actually expelled from Egypt by the native Egyptians. This compelling evidence can be found within a variety of sources, including the Egyptian steles, the Amarna letters, and the writings of Josephus, a first-century Jewish priest, scholar, and historian. According to Josephus, the Exodus occurred in the 15th century BCE, coinciding with a tumultuous period in Egypt's history. At this time, Egypt was divided into two regions: Lower Egypt, encompassing the northern part, and the biblical land of Goshen, where Moses was said to have been born, and Upper Egypt in the south. Evidence from extensive excavations in the region, particularly in the city of Avaris, later known as Ramesses, supports this narrative. The findings reveal distinctive burial practices, weaponry, religious architecture and imagery, personal names, pottery, and other artifacts characteristic of West Semitic settlers. These settlers, predominantly originating from Canaan, migrated to the northern delta region of Egypt and established self-governance, residing there for approximately a century. The initial peaceful settlers gradually expanded their numbers and influence, eventually establishing their own ruling dynasty. Referred to by Upper Egyptians as the Hyksos, meaning rulers of foreign lands, these individuals, despite their foreign origins, made concerted efforts to assimilate into native Egyptian culture. In the later stages of the 15th dynasty, they sought to portray themselves as the legitimate rulers of all Egypt. They abandoned the title of Hyksos and instead adopted traditional Egyptian titles of kingship such as Son of Re and the Good God. Their efforts included commissioning inscriptions in Egyptian hieroglyphs, employing Egyptian scribes to copy Egyptian texts, creating scarab beetle-shaped seals and amulets bearing their names, and offering gifts to Egyptian deities. The rulers of the 15th dynasty in the Delta region would have required a considerable workforce to construct their capital cities and fortifications. Dependent largely on the population of the Delta, including their own Semitic subjects, the Hyksos rulers inadvertently created a situation where Semites were enslaving their fellow Semites. The Torah recounts the enslavement of the Hebrews, describing how tax collectors were appointed to oppress them with forced labor, leading to the construction of supply cities for Pharaoh, such as Pithom and Ramesses. The Egyptian steles also document the oppressive treatment and excessive taxation imposed by the Hyksos rulers. Notably, the essence of the biblical complaint against Pharaoh did not focus on reducing the Israelites to chattel slaves, but rather on the abuse of authority through overwork and overtaxation of his subjects. Based on the discovered evidence, it appears that Moses and his followers rebelled against a hardened heart Pharaoh who was of Jewish descent. This rebellion likely coincided with the campaign to reunify Egypt, led by the rulers of Thebes, who waged war against the Hyksos ruler Apophis. Ahmose ultimately succeeded in conquering Avaris and expelling the Hyksos from Egypt. The biblical narrative depicts the fall of Avaris through the departure of the Israelites at the onset of the Exodus, followed by the Hyksos pharaoh and his retinue in their chariots. The Israelites fled on the same night that the crown prince was killed. Whether his death occurred during the 10th plague, or at the hands of the Egyptians, or as a sacrificial offering to their gods to avert further disasters, remains uncertain. What is certain, though, is that the overthrowing of the Hyksos pharaoh and the drowning of his retinue in the Red Sea signifies the end of the 15th dynasty. Interestingly, the Bible never explicitly states whether the pharaoh himself drowned in the Red Sea. When discussing the plagues, it's important to consider Egyptian sources such as the Hearst Medical, Rind, or Ipuwer Papyrus, which document several natural disasters that afflicted Egypt before the collapse of Hyksos rule. These calamities included abnormal weather conditions and disease outbreaks. Was it the hand of Yahweh, as described in the Torah, or perhaps the influence of Seth, whose temple was discovered in the Hyksos capital? Alternatively, could these events be attributed to a civil war and the aftermath of Santorini's volcanic eruption during the Bronze Age? Evidence retrieved from the bottom of lakes at the edge of the Nile Delta supports the latter theory. The impact of Thera's eruption was widespread, with volcanic rock discovered as far away as Greenland, and its effects were felt even in China. Plato even speculated that this eruption was the source of the legendary lost city of Atlantis. Could it have been the black ash filling the skies, the pillars of fire, and the disastrous tsunamis that reached the shores of Egypt, which some theorists suggest as the scientific basis for the Book of Exodus plagues and the parting of the Red Sea? While we can't know for certain, what is clear is that there's more to this story than meets the eye. As we conclude our exploration of the Exodus story and its possible explanations, one thing remains certain. The events of ancient history are often shrouded in mystery and open to interpretation. Whether attributed to divine intervention, natural disasters, or a combination of factors, the Exodus narrative continues to captivate and intrigue scholars and enthusiasts alike. It serves as a reminder that the past is complex, and our understanding of it continues to evolve with new discoveries and insights. So, as we continue to unravel the enigma of ancient Egypt, let us remain open to the myriad possibilities and the diverse perspectives that shed light on this fascinating chapter of human history.